Hello Internet, Andrew Potter back again for another episode of Life of Pi. But first let me get into a little bit of housekeeping and let me tell you the plan for this week. So unfortunately last week got very hectic and crazy for me, so I didn't get to release the videos in the order that I usually do them in. So the plan for this week is to kind of make up for that a bit. So today you're going to get 2 episodes of Life of Pi. Tomorrow you're going to get 2 episodes of Life of Pi, which catches us up in where we should be for Life of Pi. Then the plan is for Wednesday and Thursday, some combination of 3 different videos from the interview I did on the fanfiction My Immortal, which is great, and then that should be completely finished. And then Friday you should get 1 video on the new series that will be replacing the My Immortal series, because that one will be completed and we'll start this new one. If you follow me on Instagram, you know exactly what book I'm going to be covering there. If not, wait until Friday and you'll see what new book I'm covering. I'm very excited and I'll talk more about that one on Friday's video. For now, let's do Life of Pi. I looked ahead and chapter 17 was a bit longer, so we're just going to cover that one today. And I'm hoping I can get it all done within the time limit. I don't have my timer going like I did during the interview, which you'll see I have a little timer going off so that way the videos don't cut off kind of randomly. I didn't set that up today. I'm probably going to set that up for the next video, but now this one's already started, so it wouldn't make much sense. So let's get started. Chapter 17. First wonder goes deepest. Wonder after that fits in the impression made by the first. I owe to Hinduism the original landscape of my religious imagination. Those towns and rivers, battlefields and forests, holy mountains and deep seas, where gods, saints, villains, and ordinary people rub shoulders and in doing so define who and why we are. I first heard of the tremendous cosmic might of loving kindness in this Hindu land. It was Lord Krishna speaking. I heard him, and I followed him. And in his wisdom and perfect love, Lord Krishna led me to meet one man. So, Lord Krishna, I think that's one of the gods in Hinduism he was talking about. Oh no, he was the cowherd, right. Okay. I was 14 years old, and a well-content Hindu on a holiday when I met Jesus Christ. It was not often that Father took time off from the zoo, but one of the times he did we went to Munnar, just over in Kerala. Munnar is a small hill station surrounded by some of the highest tea estates in the world. It was early May and the monsoon hadn't come yet. The plains of Tamil Nadu were beastly hot. We made it to Munnar after a winding 5-hour car ride from Madurai. The coolness was as pleasing as having mint in your mouth. We did the tourist thing. We visited a Tata's tea factory. We enjoyed a boat ride on a lake. We toured a cattle breeding center. We fed salt to some Negrili tahars, a species of wild goat, in a national park. Aw, that's nice that they still like to visit other animals even though they live in a zoo. I assume they would live near the zoo. I don't think we've heard of specific where the house is. But he says when he wakes up he hears all the animals. So I assume they must have a house near the premises of the zoo. We have some in our zoo. You should come to Pondicherry, said Father to some Swiss tourists. Oh, that's smart. Rabbi and I went for walks in the tea estates near town. It was all an excuse to keep our lethigary a little busy. By late afternoon, Father and Mother were as settled in the tea room as our comfortable hotel as 2 cats sunning themselves at a window. Mother read while Father chatted with fellow guests. There are 3 hills within Munnar. They don't bear comparison with the tall hills, mountains you might call them, that surround the town. But I noticed the first morning, as we were having breakfast, that they did stand out in one way. On each stood a god house. The hill on the right across the river from the hotel had a Hindu temple, high on its side and high in the middle. Further away held up a mosque, while the hill on the left was crowned with a Christian church. Okay, so hold on. Hill on the right has a Hindu temple, hill in the middle, mosque, hill on the left has a Christian church. Got it. On our 4th day in Munnar, as the afternoon was coming to an end, I stood on the hill on the left. Despite attending a nominally Christian school, I had not yet been inside a church, and I wasn't about to dare the deep now. I knew very little about the religion. It had a reputation for a few gods and great pilots, but good schools. I walked around the church. It was a building unremittingly unrevealing of what it held inside, with thick, featureless walls, pale blue in color, and high, narrow windows. Impossible to look in through, though, a fortress. I'm sorry, my throat feels very... when I woke up this morning, I was feeling a little ill, so my throat's a little phlegmy and tight. I came upon the rectory. The door was open. I hid around a corner to look upon the scene. To the left of the door was a small board with the words "Parish Priest" and "Assistant Priest," with the words "Parish Priest" and "Assistant Priest" on it. Next to each was a small sliding door. Both the priest and the assistant were in. The board informed me in gold letters, which I could plainly see. One priest was working in his office, his back turned to the bay windows, while the other was seated on a bench at a round table in the large vestibule that evidently functioned as a room of receiving visitors. He sat facing the door and the windows, a book in his hands, a Bible, I presumed. He read a little, looked up, and read a little more, looked up again. He read a little, looked up, read a little more, looked up again. It was done in a way that was leisurely, yet alert and composed. After some minutes, he closed the book and put it aside. He folded his hands together on the table and sat there, his expression serene, showing neither expectation nor resignation. The vestibule had clean, white walls, and the tables and benches were of dark wood, and the priest was dressed in a white cassock. It was all neat, plain, simple. I was filled with a sense of peace, but more than the setting, what arrested me was my intuitive understanding that he was there, open, patient, in case anyone should want to talk to him. A problem of the soul, a heaviness of the heart, a darkness of the conscience, he would listen with love. He was a man whose profession it was to love, and he would offer comfort and guidance to the best of his ability. I was moved. What I had before my eyes stole my heart and thrilled me. He got up. I thought he might slide his block over, but he didn't. He retreated further into the rectory, that's all, leaving the door between the vestibule and the next room as open as the outside door. I noted this, how both doors were wide open. Clearly, he and his colleagues were still available. I walked away and I dared. I entered the church. My stomach was in knots. I was terrified I would meet a Christian who would shout at me, "What are you doing here? How dare you enter this sacred place, you defiler? Get out, right now." There was no one, and little to be understood. I advanced and observed the inner sanctum. There was a painting. Was this the Murti? Something about a human sacrifice? An angry god who had to be appeased with blood? Dazed women stared up at the air, and fat babies with tiny wings flying about. A charismatic bird. Which one was the god? To the side of the sanctum was a painted wooden sculpture. The victim again, bruised and bleeding in bold colors. I stared at his knees. They were badly scabbed. The pink skin was peeled back and looked like the petals of a flower, revealing kneecaps that were fire engine red. It was hard to connect this torture scene with the priest in the rectory. The next day, at around the same time, I let myself in. Sorry, my phone's just going off, so I heard it. Catholics have a reputation for severity, for judgment that comes down heavily. My experience with Father Martin was not at all like that. He was very kind. He served me tea and biscuits in a tea set that tinkled and rattled at every touch. He treated me like a grown-up, and he told me a story. Or rather, since Christians are so fond of capital letters, a story. That makes more sense because Father and Martin were both capitalized. Both letters of in have been capitalized almost every time that he said in so far. So that's a visual joke, I suppose. And what a story. The first thing that drew me in was disbelief. What? Humanity's sin, but it's God's Son who pays the price? I tried to imagine Father saying to me, "Piscine, a lion slipped into the llama pen today and killed 2 llamas. Yesterday, another one killed a black buck. Last week, 2 of them ate the camel. The week before it was painted storks and grey herons. And who's to say for sure who snacked on our golden agouti? The situation has become intolerable. Something must be done. I decided that the only way the lions can atone for their sins is if I feed you to them. Yes, Father, that would be a right and logical thing to do. Give me a moment to wash up. Hallelujah, my son. Hallelujah, Father. What a downright weird story. What a peculiar psychology. I asked for another story, one that I might find more satisfying. Surely this religion had more than one story in its bag. Religions abound with stories. But Father Martin made me understand the stories that came before it, and there were many, were simply prologue to the Christians. The religion had one story, and to it they came back again and again, over and over. It was story enough for them. I was quiet that evening at the hotel. That a god should put up with adversity, I could understand. The gods of Hinduism faced their fair share of thieves, bullies, kidnappers, and usurpers. What is the Ramayana but the account of one long, bad day for Rama? Adversity, yes. Reversals of fortune, yes. Treachery, yes. But humiliation? Death? I couldn't imagine Lord Krishna consenting to be stripped naked, whipped, mocked, dragged through the streets, and to top it off, crucified, and at the hands of mere humans to boot. I'd never heard of a Hindu god dying. Brahmin revealed did not go for death. Devils and monsters did, as did mortals, by the thousands and millions. That's what they were there for. Matter, too, fell away. But divinity should not be blighted by death. It's wrong. The world soul cannot die, even in one contained part of it. It was wrong for this Christian God to let his avatar die. That is tantamount to letting a part of himself die, for if the Son is to die, it cannot be fake. If God on the cross is God shaming a human tragedy, it turns the passion of the Christ into the farce of the Christ. The death of the Son must be real. Father Martin assured me that it was. But once a dead God, always a dead God, even resurrected. The Son must have the taste of death forever in his mouth. The Trinity must be tainted by it. There must be a certain stench at the right hand of God the Father. The horror must be real. Why would God wish that upon himself? Why not leave death to the mortals? Why make dirty what is beautiful, spoil what is perfect? Love. That was Father Martin's answer. And what about his son's deportment? There's the story of baby Krishna, wrongly accused by his friends of eating a bit of dirt. His foster mother, Yashoda, comes up to him with a wagging finger. You shouldn't eat dirt, you naughty boy, she scolds him. But I haven't, says the unchallenged lord of all and everything, in sport disguised as a frightened human child. Tut tut, open your mouth, orders Yashoda. Krishna does as he is told. He opens his mouth. Yashoda gasps. She sees in Krishna's mouth the whole complete, entire, timeless universe. All the stars and planets of space and the distance between them, all the lands and seas of earth and the life in them. She sees all the days of yesterday and all the days of tomorrow. She sees all ideas and all emotions, all pity and all hope in the three strands of matter. Not a pebble, candle, creature, village, or galaxy is missing, including herself and every bit of dirt in this truthful place. My lord, you can close your mouth, she says reverently. There's the story of Vishnu, incarnated as Vamana the dwarf. He asks of demon king Bali only as much land as he can cover in 3 strides. Bali laughs as his runt of a suitor at his puny requests. He consents. Immediately Vishnu takes on his full cosmic size. With 1 stride he covers the earth, with the second the heavens, and the third he boots Bali into the netherworld. Even Rama, the most human of avatars, who had to be reminded of his divinity when he grew long-faced over the struggle to get Sita, his wife, back from Ravana, evil king of Lakana, was no slouch. No spindly cross would have kept him down. When push came to shove, he transcended his limited human frame with strength no man could have and weapons no man could handle. That is God as God should be, with shine and power and might, such as can rescue and save and put down evil. This son, on the other hand, who goes hungry, who suffers from thirst, who gets tired, who is sad, who is anxious, who is heckled and harassed, who has to put up with followers who don't get it and opponents who don't respect him. What kind of God is that? It's a God on too human a scale, that's why. There are miracles, yes, mostly of a medical nature. A few to satisfy hungry stomachs. At best a storm is tempered. Water is briefly walked upon. If that is magic, it is minor magic, on the order of card tricks. Any Hindu god can do 100 times better. This sun is a god who spent most of his time telling stories, talking. The sun is a god who walked, a pedestrian god, and in a hot place at that, with a stride like any human stride, the sandal reaching just above the rock along the way, and when he splurged on transportation, it was a regular donkey. The sun is a god who died in 3 hours with moans, gasps, and laments. What kind of god is that? What is there to inspire in this sun? Love, said Father Martin. And this sun appears only once, long ago, far away, among an obscure tribe in a backwater of West Asia on the confines of a long-vanished empire, is done away with before he has a single grey hair on his head, leaves not a single descendant, only scattered partial testimony. His complete works doodles in the dirt. Wait a minute, this is more Brahmin with a serious case of stage fright. This is Brahmin selfish. This is Brahmin ungenerous and unfair. This is Brahmin practically unmanifest. If Brahmin is to have only one son, he must be as abundant as Krishna with the milkmaids, no? What could justify such divine stinginess? Love, repeated Father Martin. I'll stick to my Krishna, thank you very much. I find his divinity utterly compelling. You can keep your sweaty, chatty son to yourself. That was how I met the troublesome rabbi of long ago, with disbelief and annoyance. I had tea with Father Martin 3 days in a row. Each time, as teacup rattled against saucer, as spoons tinkled against the edge of my cup, I asked questions. The answer was always the same. He bothered me, this son. Every day I burned with greater indignation against him, found more flaws to him. He's petulant. He's mourning in Bethany, and God. It's morning in Bethany, and God is hungry. God wants his breakfast. He comes to a fig tree. It's not the season for figs, so the tree has no figs. God is peeved. The son mutters, "May you never bear fruit again," and instantly the fig tree withers. So says Matthew, backed up by Mark. I ask you, is it the fig tree's fault that it's not the season for figs? What kind of a thing is that to do to an innocent fig tree? Wither it instantly? I couldn't get him out of my head. Still can't. I spent 3 days solid thinking about him. The more he bothered me, the less I could forget him, and the more I learned about him, the less I wanted to leave him. On our last day, a few hours before we were to leave Munnar, I hurried up the hill on the left. It strides me now as a typical Christian scene. Christianity is a religion in a rush. Look at the world created in 7 days. Even on a symbolic level, that's creation in a frenzy. To one born in a religion where the battle for a single soul can be a relay race over many centuries, with innumerable generations passing along the baton, the quick resolution of Christianity has a dizzying effect. If Hinduism flows placidly like the Ganges, then Christianity bustles like Toronto at rush hour. It is a religion as swift as a swallow, as urgent as an ambulance. It turns on a dime, expresses itself in the instant. In a moment you are lost or saved. Christianity stretches back through the ages, but in essence it exists only at one time, right now. I booted up that hill. Though Father Martin was not in, alas, his block was slid over. Thank God he was in. Short of breath, I said, "Father, I would like to be a Christian, please." He smiled. "You already are, Piscine, in your heart. Whoever meets Christ in good faith is a Christian. Here in Munnar, you met Christ." He patted me on the head. It was more of a thump, actually. His hand went boom, boom, boom on my head. I thought I would explode with joy. "When you come back, we'll have tea again, my son." "Yes, Father." It was a good smile he gave me, the smile of Christ. I entered the church without fear this time, for it was now my house too. I offered prayers to Christ, who is alive. Then I raced down the hill on the left and raced up the hill to the right, to offer thanks to Lord Krishna for having put Jesus in Nazareth, whose humanity I found so compelling in my way. So, okay. That was a good chapter. I like that. That's a very interesting thing. Because first off, there were the 3 places for him to go. There was the Hindu temple, the Church of Christ, and there was the mosque. So it's interesting that he went to the church, because he himself is a Hindu at that point, so you would think he would go to the temple of Hindu. But he went to the Church of Christ, and there, or the Church of God, Christ, whatever, and there he found Jesus. So now but he didn't say he converted, he said, I want to be a Christian. So he is both now Christian and Hindu at the same time. So I would assume the next chapter will be him going to the mosque and then also becoming Jewish. And then he will be all three, and he will be a man of three religions. Interesting. Because then it becomes, does that conflict, or does that, if anything, bring them closer together, perhaps, because of how, because they're all about love and that sort of thing. So I don't know, is it just, I don't know if there's any practices that conflict with one another within those religions. As again, I don't know much about religion. It's not for me, so I don't really tend to look too much into it. I'm sorry if I spent a lot of time drinking in that episode. Like I said, my mouth, it seems very dry right now, honestly. Maybe that's a weird effect of the eclipse coming today. So by the time you watch this, probably... no, because I'm releasing this one actually on today when I'm recording it. So yeah. Also, for everyone, please feel free to enjoy the eclipse of the sun today. It should be interesting. Yeah, so there's nothing in particular to say about that chapter, just that it's interesting, and I'm very interested to see where it goes. So it was not the tiger chapter like I predicted last time, but this is also interesting. I do like this. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video. As always, if you have anything about that chapter that you wanted me to particularly discuss, comment that below, and feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a good one.